Very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us today. This is the 14th lecture of this series, and as everyone knows here, this GAN is the acronym for Golden Year Alumni Network. Today we have a very young speaker, Jatan Mehta, who completed his MSc in 2016. All of us presently at UDP have been his teachers, and we are all very curious to hear about how he has reached where he is today. That is, as a very successful science writer and a very passionate space explorer. And he's going to talk about very exciting possibilities. Uh, Normally people think that if you go for physics or pure science, you are going for research or just teaching, but there are a lot of possibilities, and one of these Jatan is going to talk about today. So I welcome Jatan also, and we are all very curious to hear his story. So I'll not take much of your time.
Thank you, ma'am, and the University of Mumbai Department of Physics for having me here. It's great to talk to the alma mater where I studied from. And anyway, so I write for various publications. Here are some of them on the screen. And prior to that, I worked at a space company and a brief stint at TIFR as their communicator. So what does my journey look like exactly? So let me just reminisce the time from the university days to the career path so far, because anyway, in bachelor's I was not really sure as to what I wanted to do anyway, to be very honest with you. And I think that's the case with many students, and that's all right. So the more you learn, the the faster you try to you sort of figure out as to what do you want to do, or what do you like to do, or what you are good at. And sometimes it can be a weird combination of those things. This is the worst slide that I have. All of these slides after this are better than this. So I was, to be perfectly honest, a below average student. The problem was not so much about me not studying enough, or paying enough, having enough concentration, but more about a general lack of interest. However, I did like physics a lot, and my teachers know that here. But I just never scored well, and I was very slow at understanding complex concepts. But however, what I did understand, I did do well in. One course in particular strikes me very well, which is statistical mechanics. At the time, it was taken by Siddharth sir. What he has this sort of a different system where he allows students to score in a way that they can score better. So, for example, if you're better at speaking, then you can do a seminar on a topic within the course. Alternately, you have if you are good at acing tests in a limited time period, then you can do that. Or if you are good at solving problems but you take time to do that, then there was also an option to do a home assignment, which was more difficult, but it allowed you more time. So I sort of like that. And I knew that I was good at speaking, and I knew that if I was given the time, I would understand the concept very well. So I opted naturally for the seminar option for my internals. And so at the time, some research paper had come out about, I believe, about negative Kelvin temperatures. And the topic was interesting. I forwarded the article to Siddharth sir out of interest. I was like, this is very curious. So Siddharth sir said, why don't you give your seminar on this topic itself? And he told me that he would help me understand any, complex concept that I come across while trying to grab that idea. So I gave the talk, and not to brag or anything, but I scored the highest in the seminar option for that course. And it was a good talk. And the most interest, the way it was a good talk is when people inside your batch who never talked to you before start talking to you after that. So basically, that was a nice moment. And that's when I realized that if I am given time to understand something, I can deliver that well. And more importantly, the last part of this slide, it reinforced the idea that I love to share what I learn. So after this, what I did was, I was preparing for NET. I still did not decide at this point, by the way, that I want to do science writing and communication to the masses, as my career. I was just like, okay, I like sharing things, what I learn, and I shall continue to do that by the way of blogging, which I had been doing for many years. So I had a science blog since, I believe, 2012. So that places it in, I believe, in bachelor's, during my bachelor's of physics first year. So I've been blogging since that time, and I was pursuing an astrophysics research project at CBS, which is within the university. And uh, s- at CBS, I was just doing that to get a sense of what astrophysics research looks like, because at the time my idea was I wanted to become an astrophysicist, and of course that did not pan out, but that was the idea. But nevertheless, the project was very interesting, and I kept on blogging while doing, preparing for net and doing the astrophysics post. I started writing on Medium, and one thing led to another. I just kept publishing stories on space and astrophysics in general every week, and the followership started growing. So in one week it was 100, the other week it was 500, and it started accelerating. And at some point I crossed 5,000 followers on Medium. Of course, the platform had a lot to do with it. It was not just my writing alone. So the platform definitely had a lot to do with that exposure. But nevertheless, the point is that uh, decent enough writing and a good platform can get you to places. So I started blogging that, and it became popular to the point where I got a call from a company, and they basically offered me a job, and that was totally unexpected. So what had happened was, so Team Indus is a space company based out of India. So you must have heard about SpaceX, for example. So SpaceX in America is a private company by Elon Musk. It's a private space company that makes rockets, and that's the most popular space company in the world, I presume. But there are space companies in India as well. So Team Indus is one of them, and they are building a moon mission, basically a lander, which you can see here in the picture. The mission is effectively similar to what Chandrayaan 2 attempted. So ISRO attempted moon landing with Chandrayaan 2, and this is basically the same, in essence. So they were building this, and their blog was also on Medium at the time. They came across my profile on Medium, and they decided to contact me saying that, we are expanding our marketing team. We want to tell people on our blog as to what goes inside making a moon mission, and be more open about what we are building. How do we build the structure, for example, which you see here? So what is the physics that goes on inside making this legs, for example, the landing legs? Because the lander is going to come at a very high speed and gently touch down on the moon. So even that gentle touchdown is not as gentle as you may think. It still requires the lander to absorb a lot of the impact force. So basically they were like, they wanted to they wanted someone to write a blog about various aspects of the mission, from structure to science to the communications and everything in between. So they offered me the job, and I obviously took it. I started writing blogs for them, and then slowly I started handling the social media. And that is the moment when it struck me that you can actually handle social media for organizations and get paid for it. So that was new to me at the time, and it was very fascinating. So yeah, I handled their social media. I wrote their blogs, and the opportunity basically came because I wrote regularly, regardless of who was reading the blog at the time. The physics background was a plus. So they saw in my writing that there were certain concepts which I would write about even in my own blogs, which people typically do not touch on. So let's say there's an enthusiast who wants to write about some recent scientific discovery. He or she may do a really good job at writing, but sometimes they may have a little trouble trying to uh, grasp the technical concepts and put it in simpler words. So that is where the physics background really helped me. A year later, something happened where I got an upgrade at the company itself. So once I started to write the blogs, I would interact with the engineers. So, for example, if I'm writing on the orbital design of the spacecraft as to how it is going to launch, orbit the Earth, and then go to the moon, and then orbit the moon, and slowly land there. So the entire mechanics of that orbit. So I would talk to the relevant engineer. If I'm writing about the structure of the spacecraft, I would talk to the you know mechanical engineers who built the structure of the spacecraft and so on. So I would end up going all across the company, trying to talk to various people depending on what I'm writing about. So since they were engineers, they did not have a good enough idea as to what kind of science can be done there on the moon and which planetary scientists in the field would be interested in. So they realized that, since I have a physics background from a pure and specifically pure science, I could, somehow help bridge that gap. So the idea was, I would interface between the engineers and the planetary science community that are the customers. So the bridging is what my role was essentially. And so I just had to know enough of planetary science and enough of engineering to do that job. So I did not have to be an expert. I could just consult one of the experts in either parties. So basically, I as part of that job requirement, what I did was I selected where on the moon the lander should land. And the reason for that is very simple. So just like on Earth, you have the Sahara Desert and you have Himalayas. Both are very different sites. They are geologically distinct. They are nothing like each other. So just like that, the moon also has geologically distinct sites, and depending on where you go, your science value can improve or decrease, right? So choosing the right location is critical to maximizing the science benefit, and also for the company, it is critical to maximizing the customer base. And meanwhile, I continued blogging. So my blogging streak never, stopped. I blogged less because I had a day job which took most of my time. And one day, what I did was, uh, inspired by a particular writer who worked at the Planetary Society at the time. So she's a very prolific science writer and communicator. Her name is Emily Lakdawala. So I read one of her articles, and uh, I liked the idea. The idea was she was exploring all the kinds of ways that uh, sample return missions in the past have went wrong. So basically, if you guys read the news very recently, China just sent a spacecraft to the moon. They landed it successfully 2 days ago, and as we speak right now, the lander is drilling a hole in on the moon and excavating the samples. And once the excavation process completes in 2 days, it will fire its rocket engines and come back to Earth with that sample. So that's a sample return mission, basically, in a nutshell. So basically, there have been many sample return missions in the past, in general, in space exploration. So she was exploring uh, all the kinds of sample return missions that have faced technical challenges, and I thought that was a very nice theme. So I took inspiration from there and wrote an article on the various ways that spacecraft have failed in their critical missions due to failure of electronics on board the spacecraft. So I wrote that article, then I shared it on Twitter, and I tagged her, saying that, inspired by Emily Lakdawala, which was the tag, I wrote this article, and, take a look. So she read that article and she liked it very much. And she reached out to me saying that, would you like to republish the article on the Planetary Society itself? So I was absolutely thrilled, obviously, and I said yes, and we republished the article there. So that was my first breakthrough for writing for a professional media publication, and so that's how it essentially started. And the second part was in late 2018. I went to a conference, and it was a conference on gathering science journalists and scientists. It was held in Chennai at the time, and the idea was to reduce the discrepancy between science journalists and scientists, because they both have different priorities, but ultimately uh, both of them combined communicate to the public what they do. And the public also involves not just the common person, but also scientists and engineers of different academia, because it's not like, every scientist reads every research paper in the world. A lot of you, all scientists included, also get their information from media publications, including scientific facts. So this is a huge problem to solve. And so I went to that conference and I spoke to the editor of The Wire. So you must be familiar with The Wire. It's a media publication in India. It's sort of very popular for its pinpoint criticism, which is great, I think. So I spoke to the editor of The Wire, and I just had a chat with him there. And he told me, would you like to write freelance articles for us? So I said yes, obviously, again. And I started writing for The Wire. And so for the next 6 to 8 months, I had one or two articles for The Wire every month. So that was that. I was still working at Team Indus, by the way. But when the Chandrayaan 2 event came last year. So at the time, I wrote the lead piece for the Wire on Chandrayaan 2. I was also the live blogger for the Chandrayaan 2 landing. So basically, as the landing was happening, I was live blogging about the event and giving the context to the people. So that live blogging had an audience of about, I believe, 70,000 or so throughout the entire time of the descent phase. That got me more audience, and that inspired me and pushed me over finally to consider science communication as a career full time. So I left Team Indus at the time. A month or two after that, I got a call from TIFR, from Arnab in particular. So you guys all must be aware about Arnab Bhattacharya, and he is popularly known as the Giant Y guy. So he is a scientist at TIFR, and basically he read my Chandrayaan 2 article as well as the articles for other publications and the live blog. So he liked that. So he said that there is a temporary position at TIFR for 6 months where you could come and you could handle our social media and write blogs and basically do much of the same things that I did for Team Indus minus the technical parts. So I again obviously said yes. Then in 2020, just before the pandemic uh, started, I thought of going solo, completely solo, and because I was expanding my publications, so I was like, okay, let's just give this my entire time, because if I commit to this full time, then it can actually go the distance. So just started doing that and reaching out to more publications, pitching them ideas about articles, and just following the news and so on. So I got published this year on Universe Today, which is a very popular science news website, astronomy news website. And then there are other organizations like Space News, Supercluster, and so on, and some Indian publications as well. So this year is when I, properly expanded my portfolio, and that required it required an entire base of having a physics degree, having blogged for many years. So all of that started culminating into this product, in my view. So it was not a matter of a year by any means. But anyways, that was the idea. And this year I also started something very interesting, and I'm completely fascinated by it. Is unlike 10 years ago or 20 years ago, where the only way to get any income was to work for someone or freelance for someone or contract or do a contract basis, work for someone. But now in the last 5 years especially, it has been possible for creators of all sorts, not just writers like me, to start a Patreon page or start a similar page. There are many such platforms available, wherein the people who follow your work very keenly and they read your every article or something like that, they can directly fund you with a small contribution every month. And so if you have enough bunch of people, then it starts to substantiate, the amount starts to become substantial. And that's sort of a, interesting way to, do whatever you're doing. So I started getting a few supporters on Patreon. To be clear, it's nowhere near, what you would have from a job as yet. But this is my first year. And the reason I got inspired to do this was I saw many creators in space exploration, in science communication, and even outside, who have become popular after years and years of work of whatever they are doing, that they have 500 to 1,000, supporters, direct supporters. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a really good idea. So let's just go with that. So I'm just, instead of pleasing your, company head, you effectively have to please your audience. The mechanics of it is not very different actually. So yeah, so that was one thing. And then I started public speaking more this year, uh, and so on. And I recently became a contributing editor for the Planetary Society. So the brief context here is, I have been writing for the Planetary Society regularly since this year, uh, and working with their editor Jason Davis. They are making an elaborate resource page where anyone who is interested in space exploration and wants to, uh, but has no idea about the past happenings in space exploration, but is very interested, they can come to the Planetary Society's website and they can learn about the entire history of, let's say, exploring Mars, exploring the moon, exploring Jupiter and beyond, and so on. What are the cutting edge scientific questions that we are answering right now, and so on. Basically, get the entire context in a brief, in a nutshell. So I am helping them with doing some part of those resource pages since this year. So that work has been going on since March. And so finally, this month, as of last week, the editor promoted my position from a science writer, freelance science writer for them, to a contributing editor. So which is great. So that was basically my progress so far. So I just want students to look at this. When I started this in 2012, on the left hand side of the slides, let's just be generous and say it was not a great blog. Uh, but I just like to write, so I started writing. And this is 2020, where I have now a proper professional writing portfolio. So the point is, at that time, I did not have any idea as to how will I write professionally, if I'll reach thousands of people, uh, or anything of the sort. If I'll